Hello, hello, apa khabar semua? Welcome to the virtually Peranakan Fest 2021, keeping our spirit and our culture strong. My name is Alvin Un from Peranakan Sayang, and it's my pleasure to organize this festival for you and also to be your host. We hope that this two-day non-stop online festival brings entertainment, knowledge, joy, and comfort in these challenging times to Babas and Nyonyas, and for those who love the culture around the world, as we all come together to celebrate all things Peranakan. Kamsialah semua datang sini sama-sama kita ya. Kita semua sama-sama happy wahi. Now for the second program of the day, of day one, we will be going to Kuala Lumpur to learn more about matching of the Sarong Kebaya by John Ang, presenting on behalf of Persatuan Peranakan Baba Nyonya Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. But before that, we'll have my good friend who is now in Melaka to join me as a co-host. So please welcome my good friend, Cedric Tan.
Hello semua. Dah baik? Dah makan belum?
Baik, ba. Yeah, would you like to bagus, ba? Would you like to introduce our speaker?
Well, first of all, thank you very much, ya, Baba Alvin, for having me over here to help you, ya. Kita just tolong-tolong lah, you know. You'll be host by the end of the day if you were to compare all the way to the end, yeah. So thank you very much for having me abroad and also to help out in this most wonderful sharing session marathon, yeah. So I'm going to introduce to you our speaker for today. He's also a representative from the Persatuan Peranakan Baba Nyonya Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. That's where I was from, very busy times those times, but now MCO all quite stay at home, So our Baba John Ang will be speaking on the very interesting topic on matching of the Sarong Kebaya. So the question is now, is it a matter of tradition or taste? How do you match them, yeah? So before we go into the talk itself, let me introduce Baba John Ang. So Baba John was born in the US, but he grew up in Singapore in a traditional Peranakan family. And after he received his Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts degrees in Asian Art History in the University of Michigan, he then moved to Tokyo and Taipei before settling down in Kuala Lumpur. So John is now an avid collector of Malay textiles, but also has many Peranakan Sarong Kebaya. Okay, besides collecting, his other passion is to share with his friends new discoveries about the history and culture of his textiles. Now, John is working on a major exhibition and catalog entitled Splendors of Malay World Textiles, which will be held in Kuala Lumpur from Saturday, July the 23rd to September the 24th, 2022. Not far away, yeah? 7 months more to go. So today, John will share with us about his Peranakan family background and how it has influenced him and also shaped his views on Malay and Peranakan fashion. So that's John Ang for you. So ladies and gentlemen, without wasting much time, let's bring on Baba John Ang. Mana lu, Baba John?
Hello, Ba. Wow, cantik. Hello.
Wow, nice. How are you, Ba? Wow, cantik.
And thank you for letting me share my thoughts.
Most welcome. So please, Baba John, the stage is all yours.
Okay, so my topic today is the joy of collecting Peranakan Sarong Kebaya. And I'd like to talk to you about the concept of matching, because when I collect, I collect sarongs and I collect kebayas, but seldom I collect them as a set. I think it's only 2 incidences where I managed to collect them according to the owner's original set. So generally, most museums are kind of afraid to match it in case they match them wrongly, unless they have people, older folks who kind of advise them. Then I realized also that there are certain rules and regulations, stated and unstated. that are carried down through the ages that we should observe. And people who do not observe it tend to kind of offend people who are Peranakan. So I kind of like to touch about those today so that we know that there is perhaps a standard of matching. It's not something you anyhow match. There is a certain concept. If you look at all the old books and pictures and listen to your grandma or grand aunts or even great grandma when they speak about how they would match their sarong kebayas. Okay, so without much further ado, we go on to the next slide. Okay. Am I on full screen? Alvin, am I on full screen?
Yes, you are, Ba.
Hi. Cedric, am I on full screen?
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, great. So now I'm talking about my family. My family is interesting because my father's side is fully Peranakan. The family came from Banjarmasin, and then later they transferred to Batavia and to Singapore. And my father's great-grandfather, meaning my great-great-grandfather, was the Kapitan, according to my grand-aunts, he was the Kapitan of Banjarmasin in the 1960s to 80s. Whereas at the same time, my mother's great-grandfather was the Major China of Johor. Actually, they just revived that title this year in Johor. The Sultan revived that title, but it was given to the Chinese who were supposed to take control over the overseas Chinese that were in Johor at that time. And he was in charge of the Gambia, the pepper and the opium farms in Johor in a joint venture with the Sultan. So that was my two great-grandfathers. Now, if you look here, you can see the difference in the family. On the right, my mother's side, they're very Chinese. They came from Swatao, Chaozhou. They were Teochew family. And my father's side was very Western. And this photo was taken in 1909, before before Republican China was established. So it was still the Qing dynasty, but they already have cut off their queues. So they were very advanced for their time. And the ladies, according my grand aunt is here. I think you can't see my pointer, but the second from the left is my grand aunt whom I saw. And she was 11 then, and she said that this was their clothing for Sunday school, and they all went to Sunday school and were taught English at the Sunday school. So this was very revolutionary for that time, and this was the Peranakan family that I grew up with. So here is my great-grandmother and my grand-aunts. This is the grand-aunt you saw just now. This was sometime before the 1920s. It was taken in Singapore, and you can see the bajus that they wear. Unfortunately, at that time, there was no colored photos. So interestingly, when I put this photo on Facebook, a friend of mine decided to color it, and this was the result. It's quite attractive, I think, but this was done without understanding what was the color matching in those days. And in the past, I had no idea how one would match the sarong kebayas or the baju panjangs with the sarongs. And later, when I had to do a proposal for the National Palace Museum Southern Branch in Taiwan, they wanted a collection of Peranakan bajus, and I recommended them some, and I realized that my matching was all wrong, so I had to redo my proposal with some advisors. So, for example, my great-grandmother should not be with a blue sarong if she has this orange baju panjang. And according to her age, this orange color is too bright. It should be a dark brown orange with a reddish sarong, according to some of the elders in the Peranakan society. So you can see the matching here. This is how they match in black and white. Now, we have no idea what the colors of the clothes are, but we have, the material culture has left behind some examples in different collections. So these baju panjangs, when they are red, they are usually matched with reddish or purplish sarongs. And when they are bluish, this is a blue-brown, they are matched with a blue-brown sarong. And the one on the extreme right is a no-no. You can't match the blue with an orange baju panjang. So it has to be a kind of reddish batik. So this is kind of unstated. Nobody has really written this down, but it's a tradition that has passed down through the different Peranakan families. So this is what I learned when I did my proposal. So here is my grandmother. Interestingly, her house was on Orchard Road, where the, I think, Design Orchard is right now. It's diagonally across the Mandarin Hotel on Orchard Road. And there were two main halls. We had two reception halls. The one on the right was formal and the one on the left was informal. So you can see the formal one is all blackwood mother of pearl furniture. And this one is on teak wood, is the informal. And this was to celebrate my grandmother's birthday. And my grandmother, even though she comes from a traditional Chinese family, she was wearing sarong kebaya. I think it looked more prestigious than the Chinese samfu at that time, and it was very comfortable for her. So I never saw her in anything but sarong kebaya. And that's where I first got my impressions for sarong kebayas and the matching. And here it was our old house. I remember these stairs we had to go up. The house had 3 stories, and it was we had 2 courtyards. In fact, three courtyards. So it's pretty long. And then they would, gather together. My mother's 4th uncle married a Peranakan, so she would be dressed in sarong kebaya. So when we see them play cards, some would be dressed Chinese and some would be dressed in Nyonya clothing. So this is my family on Orchard Road for a family gathering. There used to be like almost 200 people living in the same house, because my grandmother had 7 sons, and all the sons lived in the house with their families, and the daughters who were unmarried also lived in the house. And then we had, servants and cooks and caretakers in the house as well who lived in. So here is an interesting picture of our my 2 families. My mother's family, the Teochew family here. This is my in my grand-uncle's house. You can see that they're using the tokui with the Teochew embroidery. But interestingly, they don't use the chanap. The chanap is used by my father's family. You can see here the chanap here is the gold carving with the papaya flowers for sacrifice that they use. And these come from Teochew. They come from Swatao. So it's very interesting that the Peranakans would import things from Swatao, but the Swatao people themselves don't use it. So there's interchange of different the 2 cultures here. And this is my grand aunt and my grandmother, always in sarong kebaya or baju panjang. And she she comes from the Tan Chin Bun family on Dublin Road. Her altar table now is in the Peranakan Museum. So it was quite a prestigious family. Our family was divided the Tan family was divided into 4 families, because there were 4 brothers that remained in Singapore. The rest returned to China. And this is how my grandmother would dress. And you can see in those days, it was kind of like, this was probably like a Pekalongan. It looks a little like a Pekalongan sarong. And here in the middle, she's wearing a batik hokutai, which was influenced by the Japanese. And this was immediately after the Japanese War in 1947, because my cousin here, I wasn't born yet, right? So this is my grandmother, and I think she's wearing what looks like a tiga nigri. But if you observe, most of the kebayas are light colored with a multicolored or dark colored sarong. And if you come here, you can see my aunt. Here she has something like a tiga nigri, and my grandmother is wearing like a nitik. Nitik is done by the Arabs, is from Pekalongan. It's done with dots. Okay, so again with light kebayas. This is my aunt. She married my second aunt, my mother's second sister, and she married a Peranakan man. So she always dressed in sarong kebayas, although she was from a Teochew family. So again, my grandmother in the center wearing a sarong kebaya. And this is when I first arrived in Singapore from New York. We took the Queen Mary over and we landed in 1956. And my grandmother was so happy to see me. And you can see the Peranakan setting behind, even though she comes from a traditional Chinese family. and this is the kebayas. A lot of them were the everyday kebaya biku that she wore. And here's my paternal grandmother. She lived in the Malay kampong, but occasionally she would visit our Orchard Road house and come to look after me. My father lived directly next to my mother's house on Orchard Road, but all those buildings have been pulled down. And this is my aunt, and you can see her sarong. It's very interesting. In the old days, most of them didn't use the sarong jahit. It was the sarong lepas, the open sarong that was folded. You can tell from this line here. Okay, this is a kebaya biku. And of course, the influence came onto my mother when we went to visit the Prime Minister of Israel on a state visit. My mother wore a sarong kebaya, and this was during his birthday. So he invited Menachem Begin, the Prime Minister of Israel, when he invited us. My mother said she had to represent Singapore, so she wore this silk voile purple kebaya, and you can see it's a 1960s style, very tight-waisted, like the Saloma period, and very short. They call it kebaya pendek. But there is a strong contrast in color, a dark purple sarong with a lighter patterned purple kebaya. So I think I learned the most was when the Peranakan Museum had this wonderful exhibition of sarong kebayas from the Lee Kip Lee collection. And after the show, I think they donated the kebayas to the museum. And I think the museum was extremely fortunate. But I learned a lot in terms of matching because they did a lot of research and very careful pairing of the kebaya and sarong. Look at this set, right? It's the pale orange that has the color pickups from the sarongs. But these are the more, these are the European laced kebayas where you have lots of lace. I think this type of matching is much safer because white can go with anything. So please take note, there is this standard style that I'm introducing. Of course, it's my standard, but it's also a standard that I've observed from books and from how people wore their sarong kebayas, that when you want to play safe and won't go wrong in don't go wrong in the matching, the best is use a white kebaya. Okay, if you want, you can use a light colored monotone kebaya. The most challenging is when you have a patterned kebaya and a patterned sarong. So we'll see later how that is matched, but a lot of people go wrong when they do that. So when I saw the Peter Lee collection, you know, I told Peter, I asked Peter how, you know, he matched his sarong kebayas. He said with a lot of research, you got to look through all the old prints and old photographs and check it out, because sometimes we may you know, make certain mistakes that we are not aware of. So when I matched the baju panjang, in the old days, not everything was batik and not everything was lace, right? Imported prints, cetakan, right, was very popular. They had prints on cotton and prints on casarubia. And so in the old prints from the Dutch period, you can see early 20th century, these ladies wearing the printed baju panjang with the blue sarong. So I have two of them. So I matched it this way. I didn't have a white sapu tangan or handkerchief, so I used the colored one here to get this matching. And it was lucky. I was lucky I had exactly the same spittoon. So I matched the spittoon to go with this. So this one is another one with a Coromandel South Indian print from the Coromandel coast. And then here she has an exceptionally long selendang. And in the old days, these selendangs come from Jambi. It's very hard to get them now because nowadays the selendangs are short. But from in the late 19th century to the early 20th century, you have these long selendangs that you can wear one across the shoulder and then the other across the arm, like in the photo here. So this is how I matched this set. And then of course, I had to look at a lot of these old photos to see how, you know, the length of the proportions, the colors, the patterns. Colors you cannot because it's black and white. And here also I try to look at old photos of the Malay people. Apparently there are not as many photos of Malay people in baju Melayu and sarong kebayas, as they are in Chinese. It was in the tradition of the Peranakans to take a lot of photographs and record their family history, much more than the Malay society. So, but I try to find as many as I can. And in the 1960s, the photographs became more prevalent and more abundant from the Malay society, because this was the period where people were more relaxed. They will wear really fashionable dresses and kebayas, and they would, you know, perm all. You can see all their hairs are permed. They would go to nightclubs. They would go and see P. Ramlee or Saloma shows, and you can see they dressed almost like Saloma, very tight-waisted kebayas. Some of them wore corsets, and they would use batiks that the Peranakan Nyonyas also use. For example, in the 50s and 60s, this cobweb batik was very famous among the Peranakans, and you can see the Malays wearing it as well. So there was an interchange of Chinese Peranakan and Malay sarong kebayas. And you can see here these ladies, you know, in the 1930s, they were wearing these 1950s, sorry, very tight-waisted kebayas with the tight-fitted sarongs that you don't see nowadays, because now most of them are in broader baju kurungs. The sarong kebayas, the kebayas are not as tight-fitting. And it's very interesting, they will incorporate the latest trends. For example, this Casarubia kebaya has the print of Haitian or Cuban dancers. So in those days, at that time, the bars were very popular and the Cuban music was in vogue. So they had that Latin American culture seeping into their bajus. And here I match a dark sarong with a lighter kebaya. And you can tell that the Nyonyas love bright colors, so they would choose bright but colored batiks for their matching. And eventually, after the 1960s, the colors for the kebaya started increasing. There were more and more colors. So when the colors started coming in, I thought, you know, did they think of color arithmetic? For example, Pierre Mondrian, right? Mondrian, when he designed his colors, right, he perceived that each color had different weights. For example, black was very heavy, blue was lighter, red was medium, and white and yellow were very light. So if you have you know, too much black, the painting will be lopsided. So he did this color balancing that I think when we match our sarong kebayas, we have to have that in mind. So here you have a very white kebaya and a darker top. So I put a dark selendang to bring down the top light, bottom heavy effect. Okay.
Baba John, we have many questions streaming in right now. So everybody just be patient, yeah? Once we finish this presentation, we will be, we'll try to answer all your questions. Continue, please, Baba John.
Okay, we'll be mixing and matching and the game begins, right? So I think the easiest match is monotone chrome on dark brown. That's the traditional Javanese match. Okay, this was a movie about Kartini and her family during the marriage. You can see the monotone with the brown. So it's a tradition that is carried on till now. So I've tried to match monotone like white on colored, white on monotone blue, white on multicolors, and that goes very well. So that's one way you can match very easily. Okay, and this I had a fashion show and I did the same, where you have white on multicolored in two, white on Sogan brown and white on multicolor. So next, you can see this is white on monotone black with a black selendang. You can use this for funerals actually, as long as the krongsang is not in gold. You can have silver or in silver and pearl. And here you have white on multicolor with the lace multicolored kerawang selendang. Here again, you have light colors, light blue on blue, and then you can have a light blue selendang to match. Okay. So I think it's important that we, for the Nyonyas, you have a selection of different colored kebayas in your closet. So you can always pick and match anytime you want. Don't just say, you know, I have 2 or 3 kebayas, that's enough. You know, you have to have the range of the 12 colors and different shades of it for the different matchings. Okay, so this one again is the monotone on brown and black on black. That's an easy match. Okay, and this was traditional in Java as well. And you can see during the parties, this is the Jogja royal family, and they match the green with the Soga colors. And this is the Paku Alaman family, and you can see again it's yellow with the Paku Alaman brown Sogan colors. And here you can see the guests also in monotone colors with brown. Okay, each of them is the same, and I think I like this one, brown on brown. It's very elegant. And here comes the strong color monotones with colored sarong kebaya. So this is green, red, blue, and pink. But what happens is when you have colored kebaya, you need to have color pickups. So the color pickup here, you can see, even though the color is contrasting, is the pink. Okay, the color pickup here is the blue, and the color pickup here is the red, and the color pickup here is the green. So make sure when you match, right? I mean, it's for my standard of matching. There's no right or wrong to this, but I think when you are at a loss, you know, you can take this structure of matching to help you to make sure that you have color pickups, so it becomes homogeneous. It becomes united, not incongruous. Okay, so a lot of these monotones have color pickups, you can see. Okay, and going back, actually, a lot of these color pickups and color schemes comes from what we see in nature. I think the most beautiful art is nature. So how plants, flowers match, we should always observe, and we can use that for our sarong kebaya matching. So sometimes when you see a wonderful kebaya, don't let it go, because you have to be patient and wait. The sarong will come. Maybe you don't have a sarong to match, but it will come. So I bought this kebaya at first, and then after 2 years, this sarong came along, and the color, the purple and the blues, match exactly with my kebaya. So it became a perfect match. So it was a wait for 2 years. So don't let a good kebaya go when you see one. So this is how I match my patterned kebayas with my patterned sarongs. These are the hardest to match, okay? But again, you have to have the same color pickups. And there's some contrast because on top is light, below is dark. Here is the same light and dark, but you have the same color pickups on each of these combinations. Here again, you have color pickups, pattern on pattern, which again is the hardest to match. But at least the patterns, you have the same flower, the colors of the flowers, and then the selendang with the deep purple matches the purple here. It kind of unifies the whole thing. Here, the color pickup is brown. Okay? And on this, you have color contrast. So color contrast, again, is a little different from color pickup. You have to have the right color contrast. So red is a strong color. You can match it with black or blue. But if you match red and pink, it's going to be quite dangerous. Match orange with green. So you have here on the left orange and green, and on the right red and blue with the blue and red selendang. So these are the typical color contrast that is normally visually aesthetically pleasing. And here is another type of matching where I do color contrast and then same colors. So the small one is in the same color scheme, as you can see here on both right and left. And then I switch the sarongs to make it a color contrast. And I think it's more challenging and visually more exciting to the observer, but you still have to observe the color pickup. So the orange here goes with the mustard yellow here, and then the green in the perchet robong goes with the green of the kebaya. But in general, these two are in contrast. So this kebaya is pink, and then the sarong is green, but they have the orange color seems to match with the orangey pink kebaya. Okay, so that's how I do it. And what do I do with my collection? Once I have a amount of pieces, and I do my research, and I discover like the origins and connections, I often share about my new discoveries with people. And this is in Singapore, in Thailand, in Malaysia, and in Holland, where I shared about my Sarong Kebaya discoveries. And often when guests come to my house, I like to do Instagram shots with them. So this is my sister, my friend from Bangkok, my friends from Malaysia, and my friend from Taiwan. When they come to my house, we have so much fun wearing these Sarong Kebayas and matching. And I also have fashion shows where I do Sarong Kebaya matchings. And here is another fashion show I had. My friend was featuring Oscar de la Renta. So I used Oscar de la Renta for a new way of matching Sarong Kebaya. So the Kebaya is like a short Kebaya pendek, which is a jacket, a crochet linen jacket, green jacket with a sarong that has the green pickup, okay? And so, you know, you ask, is that definitely a standard? For me, it is, because I'm very sensitive to color and style and cut, right? So when I see certain things, sometimes I would call it an eyesore. Maybe to others it isn't. So I would like to share some of what I feel is an eyesore. This was in a Sarong Kebaya exhibit in the shopping center called Fahrenheit in KL. And you can see the brown Kebaya here on the right is so strong. It's matched with the pink sarong, right? It's so overpowering that you don't see it as a homogeneous combination, but something that's rather incongruous. In the other one, the Sarong Kebaya behind, right, the pink flowers kind of jump out at you, and then the sarong is lost, right? And the one on the extreme left, you see the white is so powerful, and then the sarong, the color pickups don't really work in this combination. So to me, these the blending is not as smooth, I think. And you can see here, when you put them in close-ups, right, they all kind of clash, the kebayas and the sarongs. And for me, it's not aesthetically pleasing. And here also, according to the laws and taboos, right, the slow block in which are these triangle patterns in squares, are usually worn for funerals, right? So this lady is wearing one for a wedding, which actually for people who know is rather impolite. So you have to observe some of the norms and taboos that is often unwritten. Here is Truntong with the stars, and this is a symbol of love. And this, you know, to us, black and browns are like funeral colors, right? But this is actually worn in Indonesia for weddings. The bride's parents would wear this batik Truntong because it represents love. The stars, you know, are the diligence of the Sultan's wife when she did these stars one by one, and for her diligence, he renewed his love with her. So that's why it's a symbol of love. And you know, when you wear the Tuaha sarongs, right? These are the green sarongs for the third year of mourning. So they are not so restricted. You can wear it with patterned kebayas, but make sure that you don't wear gold jewelry with it. You'll be fine. As long as your krongsangs are silver or you use with pearl, this will be in line with the morning, the light morning attire. Okay, so I think these four ladies are beautifully matched. This is Grace Wong, my friend. She went to a party and she showed me this photo. I said, wow, all the ladies match really well with the color contrast and with the color pickups you can see here. And here's my friend Tina Tan, very prominent Peranakan lady from Singapore. And almost every time she goes out, she matches beautifully, right? You can see the color pickups. When it's the same color, she has nice color contrast with the flowers. And here the color pickups in the purple. And then this is brown and yellow-orange, which is a nice color contrast. And also her friend with red, orange-red with orange sarong. It's a nice color contrast. So this is in Singapore. So Tina told me that it's not all the time she does the correct matching. Look at this. On the right, she's with a friend and she has a beautiful kebaya. Usually the kebaya patterns are on the edge, right? So this is in the center, which is good because it's a break from the very floral sarong. But Tina told me that when she went to a party, Benjamin Sek told her she had her sarong terbalik. Is the top is down and the flowers tips buds are here, and so she had to quickly go to the restroom. Tina told me I could use this story, to warn other Peranakans when they wear their sarongs in a hurry, make sure they get their top and bottom correct. So she had to go to the restroom to change it and put it back the right way. Okay, so be careful, ladies, when you match your sarong kebayas. You could get the right color, or you could get it upside down. Okay, and this is a party at Eunice Teo's birthday, which I attended, and wonderful. All the ladies came dressed to kill, and all of them tried their hardest to match in the correct way. But for me, I have certain favorites. This is Dawn Marie. I think hers is the most challenging because she has a color contrast. But there's also the color pickup in the orange, and she has let the green become like a break. So visually, it's not just one color orange, but your eyes can rest on the orange and then go back on the green and then go back to the orange. Okay, where this is beautiful, all purple, but it's a safer way of matching. And I think the person who won the prize for the best matching was Eunice herself. She had this beautiful kebaya made in the orange tone and matched it with a bright orange sarong. So the color scheme is about the same, but the intensity of color is different. So you can do this kind of matching, orange on orange, but with different intensity. And here is a party, a sarong kebaya party, Peranakan ball in Penang, which I attended. And I think all the ladies took a lot of trouble to match. My favorite is this lady in orange. You can see how she matches with the dark green and orange here. It goes well smoothly, but even the contrasting colors are quite well done. And another favorite of mine is Bettina Chua, where she dressed in a very revolutionary style, but still I can say it's Peranakan because it's a sarong kebaya, although it's kebaya labu, which is much longer, and with a sarong but tied in a knot from the waist, from the breast instead of the waist. So you have this new combination or new style of tying the sarong kebaya, but in a very aesthetic way. Okay, we're going to end soon, and these are my sarong kebaya heroes. Julia De Silva, she does the safe white and dark blue. And then my friend Taffy from Taiwan, Lilian Tong, in a light blue with a pink, but with light blue color pickups. And Eunice, which is very challenging because she has a very complex kebaya with multi-colors, but it's very light in contrast with her green sarong and Shasha, which is where she used brown and green, sharp contrast, but very with color coordinates, right, which makes it aesthetically pleasing. Okay, here is my combination. I go more modern. I use a sash by Onyata, Gallery Toko Kita, and then I use contemporary Malaysian batiks. Here you can see the different designers, and these are some of the designers that I admire, and I think you can use some of his batiks, Sham Abu Bakar, for your sarong kebayas. And here are other designers, Fern and Onyata, and they also have their own combinations, and their kebayas, you can see, becomes a very broad sleeve, more Japanese style. And here is Onyata's recent matching. It's very traditional, but instead of the krongsang, she uses a sash. And you don't have to, the family, Hari Raya family photo doesn't have to have the same sarong pattern, but if you have it in the same color scheme, it's quite refreshing to look at, and it's still a unified family in terms of pattern and color. Here you can see batik textura. Okay, she's captured the soul of, I think, traditional batiks in that her patterns are completely modern, but she still has her kepala here and the badan here. So this is a traditional format which she has kept. And here is the Queen of Malaysia herself. She designs the new batiks with Indian wood blocks and with a drawing on her, with her own freehand drawing. Okay, and here is Rus Gahara, another favorite of mine. He does batik shirts for men and also sarong kebayas for ladies.
Okay, John, I think we've got to spend some time with the questions because we're running out of time and we're going to go on with the next program. Yeah. Oh, excellent. Fantastic job.
The latest style in Singapore. Instead of just wearing shirts, Peranakan men could wear, tops Chinese or Western or Javanese and match it with sarongs like Haris Zaidi has done. So he is a wonderful example of how the culture can evolve and be a living culture. Okay, so thank you.
Oh, wow.
Much.
Wow.
So
Excellent timing, John.
In the talk. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay, let's quickly.
Thank you, Papa John. Thank you so much. We need to take on some questions here, and I think we can start off with a question here about Tiga Negeri. What's Tiga Negeri?
Tiga Negeri is a batik that uses three main colors. Originally, it was thought that these three main colors came from different places. Some of the colors did, but it wasn't necessary to make the batiks in the three places. They could get the dyes and import it. It was done in central Java rather than in north coast Java. So it has typical orange, brown color, blue and red. Those are the three main colors. That's why it's called Tiga Negeri, and it was made by a specific family in central Java.
There was a picture about your mom wearing that, the batik andike kebaya and not putting on a kronsang. Can you explain why so?
It's the Javanese style of batik kutu baru, where you have a centerpiece that you have buttons, so you don't need the kronsang. And in Java, sometimes they only use one kronsang, right? And when I talk about sarong kebayas, it's not necessary, for me, it's not necessary to wear krongsangs and to be so traditional because like I showed you, you can use a sash, right? You still have the sarong kebaya effect. It's the spirit of the sarong kebaya rather than the outward form. A lot of us try to go back to our grandparents and say, oh, to be Peranakan, you have to dress exactly like them. But that's dead culture, it's not evolving, right? So today, we don't have time to pin on the krongsang. We just put on a sash because times have changed, so we have to follow the change. And in the old days too, right? Remember in the old days, the kebayas were very long and they were usually light colors. By the 60s and 70s, the kebayas became short and bright colors. So that was the change too. They were not exactly like their ancestors. So I think we should rejoice in the fact that our Peranakan culture is evolving and changing.
We have time for one more last question, Baba John. That is, can we use a color wheel as a guide for color matching?
Yeah, why not? Yes, but I sometimes that can be quite static. Use that, but still go on your own feeling, right? Look at nature and look at other people as they dress, and then record in your mind what pleases you and use it for your own color combination.
Well, thank you so much, Baba John, for your elucidation about how to match the sarong and the kebaya. We look forward to have you again next time on any other platforms. And with that, on behalf of the organizer, we want to say thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. And having said so, I'd like to hand the session back to Baba Alvin.
Kamsia very much, Cedric sama John. Thank you so much for that wonderful session. Thank you. Well, everybody, we've come to the end of this program, but do join us for the next presentation. It's happening at 3 p.m. It's called Money Memories, Peranakan Beating for Modern Times with Angeline Kong and Noreen Chan at Katong Antique House, Singapore. Thank you for joining us here at our virtually Peranakan Fest 2021. Let's keep our culture and our spirit strong. Have a great day, everybody.